Welcome Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. Fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, I'm Pickle, and with me today as always, Blackburn.
What up? I'm back.
And I exchanged it for Blackburn, no Trimboli this week, so.
Yeah, we traded.
We traded off. I took opposite weeks off, so. But yeah, so no Trimboli's meatball the week, unfortunately, but week 12 officially over. Week 13 on the horizon, and this is like typically the last week before the playoff push.
I mean, I can't believe this season's flown by so fast.
I mean, I just feel like I was sitting there the other day, and I was like, when I was reading one of our articles online, I was like, man, I can't believe that we're already in week 13. And I mean, I just remember it seemed like a few days ago that we were just preparing for the fantasy drafts and preparing even for the NFL drafts.
All our mock drafts and handcuffs, and that's crazy.
So, I mean, you're in the thick of it. I mean, this is probably your last, I mean, and depending on your league size and depending on how big of the playoff team number you get, this is probably the last week before you actually are officially in the fantasy playoffs. So, but yeah, so got some news, some general injury. Man, I want to call them never mind. Injuries. Big word. And then finally, the Thursday night game, the Saints at the Cowboys. Big playoff potential. You can see maybe in a couple
for
weeks.
Cowboys, this is a must-win game.
It is. I was gonna say it's definitely. It would be a nice way to kind of put the icing on the cake for the last 3 games. So, but yeah, always don't forget to follow the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. Now onto the fantasy news and notes.
Fantasy news and notes.
All right, fantasy news and notes presented by Body Armor Super Drink. Superior hydration for today's athlete. Check them out at drinkbodyarmor.com or your local convenience store. First one out the gate, news-wise, you got 49ers released linebacker Reuben Foster. Obviously a new allegation in reference to domestic violence. Same female that previously had earlier on in the off-season that had filed a domestic violence report against him, but ended up later retracting it, so hence why he was able to still play. But he ended up, the 49ers, I think they felt like this might be a continued habit potentially. So they just went ahead before anything officially gets underway, and whether there's an investigation or not, or if it gets retracted again, they just wanted to wipe their hands of it.
Yeah, they were just done with the situation.
So they ended up releasing him, and he was actually claimed off of waivers by the Washington Redskins. So he joins fellow Alabama alumni that they just drafted the last couple years.
Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne.
Yep. So now, obviously, there's still pending domestic violence investigation by the law side of it, but also Roger Goodell and the league will probably look into potential suspension and or exactly what's going on going forward. So, so there's that. Now, this one's kind of a big one, especially with talking about fantasy playoffs push.
Well, let me interrupt you real quick. We just got a thing from Adam Schefter that said, Reuben Foster has been placed on the commissioner exempt list, and the NFL will continue to review.
So he's not available at the moment.
He's not available.
He's not officially. He's not suspended yet, but
the Redskins signed him, but he's not eligible to play right now.
Okay, so they're probably going to look into all the different parts of the investigation that I'm sure that the local law enforcement as well as the courts will be looking into. So. Yeah. But Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette will be suspended for Week 13. Fournette got into an altercation and punched Shaq Lawson. And
dumb.
Right. Now, he is in the process of appealing it, but from my understanding, it's pretty clear.
I mean, the video evidence was pretty clear. And why do you try to punch somebody with their helmet on?
I understand getting in the heat of the moment, the adrenaline, the testosterone, it's going, but I will never understand a football player punching another football player's helmet. Like, if you take your helmet off and you start swinging a helmet at another guy who's still wearing a helmet.
Like Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan.
Right, that's one thing. Yeah, Cortland Finnegan. Yeah. But then, Cortland. Was it Cortland? Anyways,
the Titans guy.
Right. So that was, I mean, I guess that makes a little bit more sense in the sense of fighting wise. I mean, but ultimately, you punched a guy. I mean, the thing was, he didn't just like haymaker. I mean, he squared up to like,
right.
I mean, we're going a few rounds here.
Right. Like,
so
you're going to do more damage to your hand than anything.
Well, you know, but that just seems to be the epitome of the Jaguars season now. It's just crash and burn.
What a turnaround for that team.
I mean, they were looking pretty good at the beginning of the season, and then it just like they just went around
the defense fell off.
They went the wrong way. There was a Y in the split in the road, and they took the wrong road, and now they're just going down into a dark, deep hole of depression. Unfortunately for that team,
crazy.
The fan base has got to be annoyed at this point. But yeah, so he's going to be suspended for Week 13, and for those of you that have him on your roster,
who need him to get into the playoffs, we're sorry.
I'm sorry in advance, but I don't know. I mean, we have a guy in our league who actually has Yeldon and Hyde just to try to. I think he's trying to wait and see exactly what is going to happen. But since Hyde has been there, him and Yeldon have been pretty even in the splits and carries. So I don't.
I mean, for me, if I had to pick, I would pick Yeldon just because of his pass catching ability.
But I just feel like
you don't know.
It's a dangerous road to be going down into your playoff push, trying to decide between Carlos Hyde or T.J. Yeldon. So on the other side, the Jaguars bench quarterback Blake Bortles for one Cody Kessler. So Kessler will be your starter in Jacksonville for Week 13.
Garbage.
Spoiler alert: start the defense against the Jaguars because no Fournette. No Blake Bortles, which I guess that maybe I don't know if that's really even a good situation.
They're playing the Colts. They're about to get demolished.
Jeez. Andrew Luck coming to town. Anyways, so there's that. I just it's one thing after another with the Jaguars, and I'm hearing some. There's a lot of talks of them potentially trying to make a trade for Matthew Stafford this offseason because Detroit's kind of I think hitting their wall with him, unfortunately, because I feel like. I mean, it's almost kind of like reminiscent of the Eric Ebron situation where it's like, we know you're talented, but you're just not living up to the potential that we want.
I mean, look what happened in Detroit when Ebron was. I mean, he was decent, but now look at him with the Colts.
Right. So maybe a change of scenery, maybe a better.
I'd love to see Matt Stafford with Jacksonville.
I think him and Leonard Fournette. I mean, him with an actual legit running game
the passing game. I think you'd finally have to respect it, which would open up the run game more for Fournette.
Right, and I just think that they would probably have to go get maybe a big name free agent this offseason to bring him in. But and there's also talks that the Jaguars, the Jags, they want they're trying to get rid of Jalen Ramsey potentially this offseason.
Throw him in the trade with like a mid-round pick for Matt Stafford.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Patricia is a defensive-minded coach.
This is true. I just think that it sounds like the Jaguars are kind of getting fed up, I guess, with Jalen Ramsey's antics, yet lack of production.
Ramsey and Slay wouldn't be bad.
No, that'd be a pretty good defense. So, now Patriots activate running back Rex Burkhead off of IR, so the added depth with Michelle and James White. I think this hurts James White more so than it does Sony Michel, because when Sony Michel and James White are on the same offense, in the same backfield or whatever available, they still are tending to go towards Sony Michel over James White. For whatever reason, they seem to like him better in situations.
Well, James White, he flourishes more when they have to pass.
Right.
I mean, when it comes down to it, when they have the lead and they're running the clock out, it's the Michelle show.
Right. So I think Rex Burkhead could potentially help out Sony Michel. I think he kind of gives him a little bit of – I mean, there's no guarantee that Rex Burkhead's even going to see a ton of volume. Right. He just might be there for backup. There now.
Right.
So there is that question mark, unfortunately, as you're getting ready to head into your fantasy playoffs. If you have Sony Michel or James White, I'm sure you're feeling pretty good about yourself. And then Bengals signed quarterback Tom Savage off waivers. How the mighty have fallen. QB Jeff Driscoll will now be the starting quarterback.
You know what? He didn't look that bad, though.
He was actually a very good quarterback in college.
Boyd benefited a lot from him.
I was going to say, but I think him and Boyd probably have more of a connection just because of practices and everything else when Boyd wasn't a day one starter. So.
Right.
But, I mean, he was a starting quarterback there in Florida right before Urban Meyer left, and then he ended up transferring to, I think it was Louisiana Tech or UL Lafayette, something like that. He went somewhere to a smaller school, and he still flourished. I mean, he's just a big, prototypical-bodied quarterback.
And surprisingly, he can run.
I was going to say, he seems to be mobile enough in the NFL, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, so Tom Savage is now your backup, unfortunately.
Boo.
Andy Dalton.
It don't matter. Bengals aren't going anywhere anyway.
Right.
I mean, sorry, Bengals fans, but
right. So
Louisiana Tech.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right. So so the Hurt Locker this week.
The big names on here.
There are a lot of big names, unfortunately, going into your fantasy playoffs. Chargers running back Melvin Gordon sprained MCL, probably done more than likely 2 to 4 weeks. 2 is the base, like the bottom.
Right.
4 is probably the max. So you're looking more likely
about
2 to
3 weeks.
I was going to say about 3 weeks is what you're looking at, which puts you at what?
The playoffs.
Most likely your fantasy championship.
Yeah, if you get there.
Right. If you get there, you might actually get to use Melvin Gordon. Sorry. If you have the opportunity, if he's on your waivers, Austin Eckler is a good. He's going to be stepping in. He's going to be the guy that gets the most of the volume.
Right.
They're going to use Jackson as well in some fashion. I just don't know how much. But Colts running back Marlon Mack dealing with a concussion. He is in the protocol and he's week to week. They're thinking he's more likely not going to play this week. It's going to be a game time decision, so kind of stay tuned to that before kickoff, before setting your lineups. But sounds like he's more likely not going to be playing this week. Dolphins running back Kenyon Drake dealing with a left shoulder injury, more than likely not to play this week. Also a game time decision. A lot of these big name guys, Buccaneers wide receiver Deshaun Jackson dealing with a thumb injury. He's also going to be a game time decision.
Well, he's trying to get a second opinion on his hand.
Right.
He didn't like the
initially. He didn't like the first request.
Diagnosis.
So, Giants tight end Evan Ingram hamstring injury, something that's going to linger, and it's probably going to be a week by week situation.
Well, he did it last week, and then he re-aggravated it during warm-ups this week.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
So, and then Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton, right thumb injury, going to have surgery, season ending. He is sent to the IR. Done. Follow-up news, I'm going to tell you right now, don't be shocked, AJ Green owners, if he is shut down for the year as well.
Right. Bengals aren't going to make the playoffs.
Why would
Dalton's
you play him?
out. Yeah, why would you? I mean,
he's been out for how many weeks? Why try to force him back to a team that's not going to sniff the playoffs?
Right.
That
perhaps do more damage.
Right. You would hate for him to go out there and try to give it a go and then re-injure it and him potentially have to miss some of the off-season as well as potentially into the first part of preseason and everything else. So I just say, Bengals front office, if you're listening, which you're probably not, please don't bring AJ Green back because I have a feeling it's not going to be worth it in the long run.
They don't listen to anyone. I mean, Marvin Lewis is still their head coach.
This is also true. Lions wide receiver Marvin Jones Jr., knee injury, season-ending IR. Was kind of lingering on for the last couple of weeks, and they shut him down. He's done for the year. So, man.
Get that Kenny Galladay.
Kenny Galladay is going to be inhaling those targets now.
Yeah, no more Tate, no more Jones.
It is all Kenny Galladay. And I said that he had the potential to be a wide receiver 1 by the end of the season because I said whether it's by injuries, by trades, whatever. I said in general, I said he has the opportunity. I said he's got that caliber to be a wide receiver 1 for that team.
Well, he's got it now.
So, Colts tight end Jack Doyle, kidney injury, season-ending IR. I think he had to have some sort of surgery as well. So, Eric Ebron, man.
Hey,
bro, he is walking into it.
Because Eric Ebron, I mean, he had 3 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. Last week he had 0 points, and then this week he had another 2-3 touchdown game.
Yeah.
Watch out for Mo Alley Cox, too. A lot of people don't know about him.
He played for basketball.
Yeah, he played in the A-10 for not George Washington.
Oh, I know who it is. I know who
No,
it's not George Mason, but
anyway, he was a beastly basketball player, 6'8", and he already has a one-handed grab OBJ like touchdown this year. He'll get some more playing time as a result of Doyle being out.
But Eric Ebron, if you've got him, you're smiling right now as you're heading to your fantasy playoffs.
Absolutely.
So. Another tight end done for the year. Broncos tight end Jeff Hireman, who was actually having a really good year.
He was coming on strong the last couple weeks.
Broken ribs, bruised lung, season-ending IR. He's done, unfortunately. So
There's a lot of fantasy relevant names on this list.
I mean, yeah, some of these guys like Dalton had been hot and cold. Ingram's been hot and cold. Jackson's been hot and cold. But Kenyon Drake's been pretty steady.
Marlon Mack, Gordon, Marvin Jones, Doyle.
The Gordon one is a big one for me. Because
that's the biggest.
That's the biggest name because, I mean, yeah, you could get Austin Eckler in there. But, I mean, we talked about this all show. I think, and we kind of went back and forth about it, but I think unless something changes, Austin Eckler's like he's looking at somewhere between we talked about 12 to 18 is what we're looking at.
Yeah,
in
he's not
PPR.
going to get you the 25 to 35 that
Melvin Gordon's
going to get
potential wise,
right.
But I mean, but you got to do what you got to do. If he's your only option at running back to fill in for Melvin Gordon, you got to put him in there. Unfortunately,
well, every season Melvin Gordon, I feel like he's always battling some kind of injury at one point in the season.
Didn't he get hurt at the end of last year, right before the fantasy playoffs as well?
I think so.
He had a season-ending injury that he did not come back for. So I mean,
when we do our handcuff show,
this is what we're talking
Austin
about.
Eckler.
So, all right. So let's get into the final segment tonight. The Thursday night primer presented by Fantasy Fateball.
This is the Thursday Night Primer.
All right. Thursday night primer presented by Fantasy Fateball, the one and only Magic 8-Ball for fantasy football. 20 custom answers to help you make those critical start-sit decisions in the Sunday morning agony. And head over to fantasyfateball.com. Use your promo code HATEFUL8 for $5 off your purchase. It also can be used as like a gag gift in your fantasy football league for maybe somebody who's been not done so well this year. So
yeah.
But the game this week, New Orleans at Dallas. So, man, good, bad, and ugly in this one. It could be interesting. You had the good in this one. Who do you have for the good in this game?
Surprise, surprise. My good from last week.
And the week before.
Yeah, Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to play him from here on out. I'm gonna have to stop putting him on the good, bad, ugly because he's one of those guys that's turning into you're gonna play him like Zeke.
Oh yeah.
Or Michael Thomas, or we don't even put those type of guys on here because you're gonna play them.
Right.
Well, Amari Cooper is starting to be one of those guys. He's averaged 19 points per game. He's averaging 19 points per game since joining Dallas. And did you see the Thanksgiving game?
Yeah.
He made Washington's secondary look atrocious.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds you of the game that he had, last year, the one game against Kansas City, where he just showed up.
Yeah, that was his one big game last year. I mean,
but he's been steadily every week. He's gotten better and better and better, and then he finally kind of had that breakout game last week on Thanksgiving. So
38 points.
I'm just telling you how things change for the Dallas offense when you actually put a legit wide receiver in there. So that tells you if Amari Cooper is stepping in, and we all talked about how. Is Derek Carr better than Dak? Is Dak better than Derek Carr? And we talked about well, I don't know. They're both struggling. They both have their struggles. I will tell you, post Amari Cooper joining, Dak Prescott starts actually looking like an above average NFL quarterback. I'm not saying elite. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that guy, but he's actually looking serviceable now. He doesn't look like a fish out of water. He's not looking like he has no idea what to do.
I still think Dak's a subpar quarterback. I like Derek Carr as a quarterback better. But Dallas has a better offensive team. They have a better offensive line, better running backs. And take Amari Cooper out, they still have better receivers, I think, than Oakland.
Right.
So he's coming to a better offense with a run game that they have to respect. It opens up the passing game. Amari Cooper is being the beneficiary right now, and Dak's hitting them.
I would say Dak and Zeke have both been huge beneficiaries of Amari Cooper joining the team. So even the other wide receivers, Cole Beasley, Michael Gallup, Hearns has gotten in the mix.
Hearns is garbage.
He is, but
I like Gallup a lot, and I've always been a Cole Beasley fan. He's a gritty guy. He gets you the underneath stuff.
Yeah. So
they got a good squad.
They finally, I mean, and people were like, well, they had a number one receiver with Dez. Dez was a one trick kind of pony, if you want to call it that. I mean, he was not Amari Cooper creates separation.
He can run routes.
Right.
Dez really didn't run routes unless it was a deep post or a fly route.
Right.
That was it.
And Dez used his physical abilities.
Throw it up to me, I'll go get it.
Right, and sometimes he catches, sometimes not. I mean, Amari Cooper really has not, knock on wood, but he's not had the drop issue since he joined Dallas.
No.
So,
well, I think also Amari Cooper's got some extra incentive. He got traded from a team. That's got to be a hit to you.
Right.
And then
from a bad team.
Right. You get traded from a bad team. And he's also playing for money. He's playing for this next contract.
I know, and Jerry's already made it known that if he continues to keep the pace that he's going or continues to do well, that they're probably going to extend him, which
as they should.
Right.
I mean, if he's playing like a wide receiver one, a legit wide receiver one right now.
Right. Your defense is starting to actually look good. You're with adding a number one wide receiver into the offense. Your offense is finally starting to look back to the 2016 team. So you're maybe finally getting back to what you want. I mean, don't get me wrong. Dallas is still, if they make the playoffs, they're still a one and done. They might beat the one team that they play for the first round, but they're not making it out of the divisional. There's no way.
Well, that division is, I mean, it's wide open. They're tied with Washington
Right.
record wise. Philly's one game behind both of them, or 2 games?
2 games.
I mean,
anything can happen.
They play Washington Monday night.
Right. So I'm just saying,
if they make the playoffs, none of the NFC East teams are going to get past the second round.
No, they're not going to make it past the Saints or the Rams, unfortunately. So
no.
But enjoy your free pass into the.
What really sucks is you're good enough to be a playoff team, but you're not good enough to get a high draft pick. You're like stuck in the middle.
Right.
Which helps nobody.
Well, no, and unfortunately now the Raiders are probably upset that this Amari Cooper pick went from like a top 6 pick or whatever top 7 pick to now towards the back end of the draft. It's going slowly farther to the middle to back.
Right. Yeah, they're not happy about that.
But the bad in this one, I know I just talked about him, but Dak Prescott. And it's not because I think Dak is a bad, like he's a horrible, horrible quarterback. The matchup's just not favorable. I just think that the Saints offense is just scoring at will, and I just think that it's going to put pressure on Dak.
It is. They're going to make him have to win.
Right. I think they're going to take away. I mean, I don't want to say take away, but I think they're going to basically load up the box on Zeke, even though they still have Amari Cooper. I think this is the one defense that they're going to put Lattimore out there on an island with Cooper, and everybody else is going to be playing for the run. And I think they're going to make Dak make some tight window throws and a couple. They're going to make him read the defense, basically, if that makes sense. I know that sounds cliche for a quarterback, but they're going to make him earn his paycheck this week.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a smart thing to do.
So, but Saints are giving up an average of 19 fantasy points to quarterbacks, but I'm looking at somewhere around that 15 range for Dak this week, which if you're making a playoff push, you probably want a quarterback that's closer to the 20 and above club. So
go get Carson Wentz. I know he dropped a couple stinkers, but he's playing Washington.
Right, and Washington's offense is not doing
Philly.
well. So
go get Wentz.
And then collectively, we kind of looked at it and the ugliness one. I mean, I hate to say it because you're not benching Amari Cooper. You're not benching Zeke. You're not. I mean, we already said Dak is probably going to be underperforming this week. You're not benching any of the Saints' offensive players. So where do you go? The lowest man on the totem pole in the Saints' offense is Ben Watson.
Right.
I mean, because you're not sitting either one of the running backs. You're not sitting the wide receiver, Michael Thomas. If Traquan Smith is playing, you're playing him. I just think that you're more likely looking at matchups, and Ben Watson's got a pretty decent one this week.
And if you looked at Thanksgiving, the guy that did the most damage for Washington was Jordan Reed.
Right.
So Ben Watson, I like it. That's why I didn't put anything. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So Cowboys are giving up 15 fantasy points PPR wise to the tight end position, and Ben Watson's pretty much the only tight end that they throw the ball to. So
right.
I mean, he could be a comfortable 10 fantasy points this week for you. I'm not saying he's going to get the 15. I'm not guaranteeing that, but I think a double digit is not out of the question for him this week. And I just think that this might be a scoring game. And I think that obviously New Orleans is going to be the one that comes out on top. As a Dallas fan, it sucks to have to say that, but I'm also not delusional in that sense that I know that New Orleans Saints offense is no joke. And I will say this might be a real test for the offense because Dallas has a good defense and pass rush, but I still think that
they're going to put up points.
I was going to say they're still putting points on. There's no way I'm not playing. I wouldn't play Dallas's defense this week. Please don't do that. I know that they've been pretty decent and they're a top 5 defense statistically, but this New Orleans offense is a whole nother beast. It's just, I mean, you want to shut down the run? Michael Thomas is going for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. You want to stop the pass? Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram are going to be scoring 2 touchdowns apiece. I mean, you pick your poison.
Right.
And you're just hoping that the other aspect of your defense is able to slow the other aspect a little bit down so you got a chance to score. But, I mean, if the Rams were not able to beat them, what does that say? And the Rams are the number 2 team in To me, the Rams have a pretty good defense. They're not great, but they're not bad. But that offense is a powerhouse.
The thing with the Chiefs, Rams, and Saints, you have to have an offense that's capable of putting up 30 to 40 like that, or you're not going to be able to stay with these teams.
No, and that's the thing. Dallas is not going to be able to put 30-plus to keep up with New Orleans. Now, if they can find some way to slow down to keep New Orleans under 30, I maybe give them a 50-50 chance, but at this point, there's no way Dallas wins this game.
Yeah, they're just blowing through everybody right now.
Yeah, and if you're the Rams, you got to hope that you can somehow get New Orleans to slip up here between now and the end of the season to get your chance to get home field over them, because you don't want to go to New Orleans in the playoffs.
No, that's yeah.
It
didn't work out the first time.
Right. In the cell phone world, that's called a dead zone. You just don't go in there and come out successful. So, so it could be a good game. We'll see how it goes.
It'll be entertaining.
It'll be entertaining if nothing else. And Jerry World, as always, I'm sure Thursday night it'll be a big production. So.
A lot of fantasy points in that game.
There is. That's why when I looked at the ugly, I looked across the board and I was like, you're not sitting any of the Saints offensive players. No. And we talked about Amari Cooper, Zeke, you're not sitting.
Well, I think Watson can get you 8 to 12. And if he gets a touchdown on top of that, great.
Right. So we'll see. So, all right, that's all we got for today's show. Thanks for tuning in to the show via the podcast as well as YouTube channel. Please check out the site, thehateful8ff.com. You can find all of our weekly in-season articles. Also, we have an online store that you can get apparel if you're looking for that. Follow our personal accounts at jpickleTH8FF, at jblackburnTH8FF, and at ftrimTH8FF. Don't forget to join the average donation which supports the show. It's on the patron tabs on the site. You can get all your in-season weekly help, league-specific wise. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Keep listening.
Yep. Thanks again, and we will see you guys for the Week 13 episode.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight. He's a chump finish.